know how much we love ourselves. But Jesus is telling us, you must love your neighbor as you love yourself. A number of years at a Special Olympics track and field event that was taking place out in Spokane, Washington, the contestants all lined up for the start of the 100-yard dash. And when the starter's gun was fired, all seemed to get away well, except for one little boy who tripped on his own feet and tumbled to the ground. Scraping his arm, he began to cry. Now, hearing this, two of the other special athletes stopped and turned around and went back to that fallen little boy. One, a little girl, afflicted with Down's syndrome, bent down and kissed his injured arm. This is going to make it better, she said. And with the little boy back on his feet, the three of them held hands and they crossed the finish line together. A somewhat similar event took place in the Madrid Marathon several years ago. Over 6,000 runners answered the starter's gun. And toward the end of the grueling race, two men were far out ahead of the entire pack. And as they were nearing the finish line, one of them was suddenly overtaken with severe leg cramps and was unable to continue the race on his own. Whereupon the other leader stopped, picked up the afflicted competitor, and carried him across the finish line. In today's gospel lesson, one of the scribes is asking Jesus, which is the first of all of the commandments? And Jesus answers him, the Lord our God is the one Lord, and you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. The second is this, you must love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. And the scribe agrees wholeheartedly, saying, what you have said is true. To love him with all your heart, with all your understanding and your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself is far more important than any burnt offerings or sacrifice. And when Jesus saw that the scribe had answered wisely, he says to him, you are not far from the reign of God. Notice that Jesus does not separate the two great commandments. He combines them together. He is saying, in effect, as he says in other ways many times, you can't do one without the other. God pours his love into your heart, commands you to love him in return, calls you into union with himself, affirms your individual, special, unique worthwhileness, and thus urges you to hold yourself in high esteem. At the same time, he commands you to love your neighbor, to affirm your neighbor's individual, special, unique worthwhileness, and to hold your neighbor also in high esteem. Love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus is telling you that God's love is not subject to limitation ever. Either you accept it as universal or you deny it. You cannot see yourself as an object of God's love and therefore love yourself in this sense if you do not simultaneously love your neighbor for the same reason. And we show the depth of our love for God in the depth of our love for one another. If our